Hello everyone, today we have new video review, and as you can see, this time we are going to talk about fresh release from Tamiya. It's a bike kit which copies Team Suzuki Ecstar GSX-RR 20, and you can see this bike on the box art. So it's a modern MotoGP sports bike, and now we have a chance to copy it in scale, in 1/12 scale to be precise. This is a final shape of this kit, so it means you will get exactly the same stuff as what you will see in this video review, and it will be interesting to check what is actually copied in this kit and what can be improved with some aftermarket sets, because I am like 100% sure that we will see some aftermarket sets for super detail in this model. And even Tamiya made their own original detail up parts series set for the front fork. You can already get it together with the bike set, and we'll review it in the separate video, so in case you are interested, just check our YouTube channel. It will be online simultaneously with this kit review. So first of all, I have to note that box art is really beautiful. It's actual drawing, it's not a digital picture, and that's what makes it interesting. Box size is typical for such kit. Here you can see comparison with my hand. Next, on the side here we have, let's say, a small profile or color profile on what is copied in this bike. As far as I can see, there should be a removable cowling, but we will see. And here the small ad for the detail app set for this bike, and on the opposite side you can see another picture of this bike in a side profile. This is a top loading box, so let's open it, and here's what we have inside. So it's slightly a bit too bright, but I'll darken the lenses. So here you can see a lot of let's say outer shell parts. Obviously they are molded as a white plastic parts. Here we have large tires, so it will be interesting to check everything one by one. And of course each sprue is packed into the separate plastic bag, so it will take time to open it with this tool, and I will start right now. In the meantime, I can also remind you that you can support us with a small donation, because even this kit was purchased with help of your donations, and I would like to say thank you for such support, because without you this review would not be possible, and that's why I'm glad that you are supporting this small, let's say, endeavor to create more video reviews and tell you more about the fresh releases from different manufacturers. So we are starting with this white sprue, and I guess it will be too bright, so maybe it's worth closing the lenses a bit. So here we have the bodywork parts. As you can see, they are made as separate panels. Maybe it will be easier to paint such stuff, but definitely you will have to mask some of them, because otherwise it will be really tricky to replicate the paint scheme just like on the original bike. Know that we have all the necessary cutouts, for example here in this cowling, and this detail up set actually replaces the meshes here with P parts for even more convincing appearance, so that's also quite cool thing. And here inside you can see some of the guiding elements, so I can guess that some of these elements will be fixed in place with help of screws, because that's what usually Tamiya does with their kits, and I guess this one is not an exclusion. I can see the screwdriver included in the package, so I guess you will have to screw some parts, not to glue them into the place. And you might hear that I'm already opening the next plastic bag, because here we have black sprues. I will move this one to the side, and in this plastic bag, surprisingly, Tamiya packed two sprues together. So here we have this black sprue, and again we have to open the lenses, because otherwise it's too dark and you won't be able to understand what do we have here. So first of all, we have exhaust parts here. As you can see, for each side of the cylinders we have separate ones. So these are basically molded together with exhaust tubes, as far as I can understand. Also we have the main frame parts here, and that's the rear guard, which will be installed on the top of the rear wheel. So let's zoom in as much as we can. Maybe let's open the lenses even more, so that you will be able to see more details on these parts. And you can see that attachment points are reduced to the possible minimum, so that's a really cool feature. And again, note the welding seams on this main frame. They look quite convincing, so it's just a matter of careful painting. Here we have some parts for the front fork, and by the way, if you are choosing to install the metal detail upset, you will have to combine these plastic parts with metal parts. And here we continue with more parts for the, let's say, internal details. For example, this is an instrument panel, and obviously it will be upgraded with decals, because otherwise how can you replicate the digital cluster on your plastic model? Inside you can see a lot of guiding elements and installation points. So all this stuff will be used for screws. That's why I was saying that you should be careful if you would like to get everything in the right spot. Next we continue with another black plastic sprue. So this one is also busy with various parts. We have wheel rims here. Maybe I'll close the lenses a bit. We have main wheels, as I said. We also have some parts for the main chassis, as well as the fuel tank and some suspension parts, driver's seat, clutch cover, and I can see various control elements. For example, here you can see handles. Here you can see the main chain, which is molded together with this stars, let's say. But why I'm a bit wondering, because usually aftermarket manufacturers upgrading this thing, so I wonder who will be the first to do so in order to bring even more details to such model. And I think this kit really deserves it. So here we start with the left top corner. So wheel rims, they look quite fine. They should be combined with the vinyl tires, so I don't think it will be a difficult thing to do. Here we continue with various control elements. Note that they're also molded with guards, and this actually the throttle guard is molded only on the right handle, obviously, so that's quite interesting thing. Frankly speaking, I didn't know it before. Here we continue with some parts for the main frame. That's the chain which I was talking a few seconds ago. And here we have some parts for the clutch, so clutch cover, as well as the various actuators, which will be also visible on the finished bike. That's why it's more about all these minor features, and that's what is really cool about this kit. I mean, about any bike kit basically, because there are a lot of things which you can improve just by painting them properly, weathering them properly, and then you'll get a quite impressive result. Now I'm opening the final sprue, which is molded out of gray plastic, and maybe it's more of a silverish plastic, but here we have a lot of interesting elements, and it would be worth showing them in a zoomed up view as well. So just give me a second. Okay, so as you can guess, we have engine parts here. We also have some of the parts for brakes, and also I can see the clutch. So without further ado, let's zoom in and check everything in detail. So here you can see these front fork parts, and in my opinion they look okay, but if you compare with what you can achieve with the upgrade set, definitely go for it, because it will be a noticeable upgrade. That's the front fork, and once you replace it, it will be visible on your model, especially in such huge scale, let's say. Here we continue with a few tank parts, engine parts, and again, engine should be quite detailed. I'm not sure if the wiring will be replicated out of the box, but basically you can do it with your own hands and tools. Next we continue with various minor elements, for example the front brake covers and front brake and rear brake rotors. We have some parts for the clutch, and again I can bet that we will see an aftermarket set upgrading this clutch. Next we continue with more engine parts. Here you can see the radiator grille, which is molded as a single piece part. The tail up set actually touches this area, so in case you would like to add more features, be ready to work with P parts. And here we have more parts for the rear wheel stand. So it is also supplied in the standard package. You don't have to buy it separately, and that's really cool because it will give you a mean to display your model without resorting for some special stands. So next we can continue to the parts which were separated with a special cardboard insert. It was designed in order to protect these parts, because as you can guess, we have the main shell or the front shell molded as a single piece part, and that's a really cool thing because it will help you avoid any unnecessary seams in this area. The same can be said about the fuel tank cover, and that also enables you to be able to remove these parts easily. so you don't have to glue them into the place. Maybe I will place it here, and let's close the lenses as much as we can do. Zoom in, and now you can see this front cover. So it features quite nice details. We have rivets pre-molded, we have all the vents in place, so it's just a matter of careful separation of these 3 points and you are good to go. Inside we have the guiding element here, so that's actually the pin which we'll be inserting on the main frame, so I don't think it will be a difficult task to do. Difficult thing is actually to paint this part properly. And of course we also have the separate fuel tank cover. Note that it also features pre-molded Suzuki logo, so you can just dry brush it and you will be good to go. I don't remember if it is actually silver on the real bike, so we will have to check the photos. Next we continue with the plastic bag, which is full of various things. So here you can see it, we have vinyl tires, we have a small screwdriver, a lot of metal screws, as well as the vinyl piping. So I guess these pipes will be used in order to replicate the brake lines on the real bike. So let's open it and take a closer look together. I can see that these vinyl tires, they look quite okay, but they do not feature any details on the tire walls, so that's something you have to keep in mind. So first of all, I would like to show you this vinyl tube which will be used for the piping on the bike. I hope it will be enough, so be sure to use it sparingly. And here we continue with the front and rear tires. As you can see, these are typical vinyl tires. Obviously you have to sand this middle seam on the tire, and otherwise it's more or less okay for out of the box build. We also have plastic or vinyl polycaps here. I guess they will be also used for wheels as well as some mainframe parts. We have the separate metal spring for the rear shock absorber, and do not forget that you have to paint it into the orange color as far as I remember. And next we continue with a small screwdriver and several sets of screws. So here are the screws, and here is the traditional Tamiya screwdriver, which should be familiar to you in case you assembled some of their bike kits in 1/12 scale. Next we continue with a clear sprue. It comes in the separate plastic bag as well, so I'm going to open it right now and we will take a closer look together. So these clear parts, they will be used for the windscreen. Now obviously there are no headlamps on the racing bike, so we also have anti-slip pads on the fuel tank, but as far as I remember, Tamiya offers you a choice whether you would like to use them or not, because there were two versions of the bike and one of them did not feature these pads on the fuel tank. But molding quality seems to be fine. I'm not sure about masks. So as far as I can see, no, actually masks are included. They come on in the next plastic bag, so I'm opening it right now. And as for the windscreen, of course it is kinda on the thick side, because on the real bike it's even thinner, and in order to preserve it, I would say the overall scale sizing, I would rather suggest to find the vacuum formed shape part. It will give you a better appearance and even more convincing look in this scale. Believe me, it won't go unnoticed, so that's why it's worth investing into it. Next we continue with the... So first of all, I would like to show you decal sheets. Because they come with a metallized finish, and it's not written where they were printed, but they look quite fine. So here you can see the first decal sheet. Maybe I will close the lenses so that you can see it better. And note that we even have decals for the wheel rims, so you will have to carefully apply them on your bike. But as I said, there is also a second decal sheet, so I will remove this one, and here's the second one. So here we have more of, let's say, stencils. We have also decals for the dashboard, various sponsor decals, so quite a great stuff. And of course it will considerably improve the appearance of your bike. But that's not all, because we also get a plastic bag with masks, as you remember. And it comes together with some other things, so I'm trying to open it right now. because it was closed with a sticky tape and it just teared apart. Okay, so first of all we have this black sticker, which will be used also on the fuel tank in case you don't want to use the slip pads, then you use this sticker. Next we continue with the Michelin tire decals. So they are applied on the tires obviously, and you can see they're more or less okay. And next we continue with masks. So masks is something what is quite important here, because only with help of these stickers you will be able to achieve a proper paintwork on your bike. And as you can see, they are coming as not pre-cut, so you will have to do carefully all the cutting and then apply them on the necessary areas. And there are no spare masks, so no second chance. Be careful and work with them carefully in order to get the right result. Next we continue with various brochures, so there are several of them. First of all we have a background information which is finally printed in color, and that's really good for this subject, I would say, because there are a lot of colorful things to replicate. And here we have this color marking guide, let's say color guide, printed in color, and that's why I was saying it is important. And note that you can replicate 3 marking options, so bike number 36, 42 and 50. And here we have some technical information and background information about the Rio bike. Next we continue with the tech tips. So it's a quite simple brochure. Here you can see it, you get it with every Tamiya kit. And the next thing is the assembly manual. As usual, it is printed in black and white format, so here you can see it, nothing different. I mean, if you had, let's say, if you dealt or assembled Tamiya kit before, it will not be surprising for you. But here we have some safety advices and recommended tools, and of course some recommended paints as well. We also have some corrections, so just give me a second. So you have to refer, oh, it's for replacement parts which are not available in Europe anyway. So assembly process starts with an engine, and as you can see, engine should be quite detailed. We have a lot of stuff to install here and there. As I said before, be sure to think through how to paint all this stuff in advance, because I mean some parts will not be reachable once you install them into the place. That's why I'm saying it is important to have some strategy on how to paint them before assembling everything together. For example, here you can see the frame assembly where we get these 2 parts together, and already we have some color separation between them. We have XF16 here and LP48 here, because the frame is painted into blue color as far as I remember. So you have to be careful with that, and I'm just checking the marking guide in order to understand why it is. No, it's actually the silver color, but it's kind of different shade. So be careful with it. Next we continue with more of the rear suspension parts. Here, by the way, you can see this metal spring which we've seen before. That's the swing arm for the rear suspension. Of course you'll have to apply some decals there, and note that this chain, it will have to be separated first and then glued together, because otherwise you will not be able to insert it into the swing arm. That's how it's done on all modern bikes, and that's something you won't be able to avoid here. Next we continue working with the rear wheel, so it gets assembled together with brakes, and also we install it onto this swing arm. We also install this rear cover and brake lines as well, so they are replicated with this vinyl cord, as you remember. Here we have the separate stand, which is assembled out of several parts, which is quite cool addition in my opinion. So it will be used in order to display your bike. And note that rear wheel and swing arm are fixed together with screws, not with a glue. That's something what you have to consider while joining all this stuff together. Maybe you can leave it even as a separate sub-assemblies and then assemble together once everything is painted properly. Next we continue with exhaust. So exhaust will be also quite a tricky thing, because you have to work on various shades, and also just to remind you, the upgrade set actually upgrades the exhaust tips so that you have the meshes there. The same applies to this radiator, and as you can see, it is installed obviously in the front of the engine. And next we continue with the front fork. So as I said, you can upgrade it with metal by buying this accessory set, so I really recommend it. Next we continue with the front wheel, so basically pretty much the same operations. You have to do assemble various brake discs, install this wheel into the front fork, then you install the front fender. These are the brake calipers and the guards, which are usually installed around brake discs. And next we continue with parts for the front fork, so it is installed onto the subframe. Then we continue with piping, which is replicated with help of these tubes. And also here we have the seat cowl, which is molded as a single piece part, as you remember, so it will be quite easy to assemble, but quite tricky to paint. As you can see, you have to use masks as far as you can see here, so be sure to apply them properly. Here we continue with the seat and cowl installation on the bike. And next we start working on the rear camera as well as the clutch cover there. Next we have the fuel tank cover, and also that's the tank pad anti-slip sheet, or you can use this anti-slip pads. Again, it depends on which bike you would like to replicate in your build. Next we continue with the front details and fuel tank cover. I'm just checking what have to be painted and how. Here we have also this upper cowl parts. As you remember, this section is molded as a single piece part. You have just to install these separate spoilers, which are molded as separate parts, obviously. Next we continue with the side cowls, which are installed here and there. And I'm just trying to understand how the masks will be applied here and there as well. Here we have, by the way, the engine protection from below. And that's pretty much all. So just give me a second to take a quick look at this thing. Because as far as you can see, manufacturer proposes to use the masking tape in order to mask some parts, to mask the side cowls, and then you just paint these sections in the proper color. As you can see, this should be pretty much straightforward, because these are basically straight lines, but still be careful and pay attention to the angle of these lines, because it will be also important with decals. So all in all, we have a really impressive bike kit, and I can't wait to see aftermarket for this set, because it will make it even more detailed and even more complicated, and then we can build it together. And of course I will be happy to hear your opinion about such a release. Do not forget to write it here in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button and share with your friends so that they know about such great kit. And I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today, and see you soon. Bye.